What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. I just wanted to throw this in before you watch the stream clip. The stream was from earlier today. I talked about some of my long-term holdings. So there's a few things that I think I should have added, and on reviewing, I'd like to add now. One, I do hold a large portion of cash right now, and I didn't really talk about that. I'd like to be nimble in this market environment. A lot of the positions I'm holding are convictions, and I go over those and why I hold them, but these are likely to rapidly change as the market environment changes. Now, some of them, like my uranium position, I'm heavy convicted on that. That's a 5-year trade. But a lot of these, I didn't talk about the duration. But this is what I'm holding now. Here are the reasons why. This is likely to change. This is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes. Any other disclaimers? I think I touched them all. So keep that in mind when you're watching this clip, and I hope you're enjoying the content. Remember, you can always ask me about these in the Discord. Remember, I won't make a video every time something changes on these, but if you're in the Discord, you can always ask me, and I give monthly updates. I've been giving monthly updates on these holdings for about 6 months now. So make sure to check that out, and on changes that I make in between those months as well. You can always talk to me in the chat. You can always ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. So enjoy the clip.
As you can see, these are listed from largest to smallest. I already talked about Energy Enough, IBB. That's the big biotech ETF that I still really like, biotech. You can see I don't own much for individual names, only CRISPR and NVAX. And as you can see, they're not the largest positions either. And you can see that I do have one mineral company, AA, which is aluminum, which I expect to really take off. Well, it's not just aluminum, but I expect that to really take off because of the continued EV cycle. And rather than betting on one individual company, although obviously I like Tesla the best, why not go for the minerals? Yeah. And I guess for the sake of clipping this out in the live stream, making this a clip, I will say that I love energy, still very bullish on energy. The underlying fundamentals for why we should be bullish on energy has not changed at all, despite the pullback in a lot of these stocks. And let's just pull up CCJ here. This has been rough. The holds, we did manage to sell, so to kind of pull back at this 28.20 and then pulled back more at the 25. And then we're buying back in around these low 20s right now for CCJ. For XLE, I bought back right about here at the 73, expecting that this can go down probably to 68. Got a little impatient, but really it shouldn't be a big deal in the long term anyways. On UNG, we bought, pull up UNG right here. On UNG, same deal, bought here in the low 20s. It ended up going down a little bit more. I did buy more of this yesterday, though, after this other gap down. Again, the fundamentals here have not changed whatsoever. All that's changing is the price action. And I'm not going to let the price action here dictate to me, let my emotions take control of the trade, and I'm going to continue to hold this. Of course, there's going to be some stop losses, but I will continue to reattempt this trades. We've also taken some losses on XLE when it comes to options, but we're talking about the long term right now. So that's to explain all these energy trades. We've talked about what those fundamentals are many times. I'm not going to do that right here. So IBB, biotech is just taking off, okay? I like CRISPR and NVAX. These individual names, they are not allocations within this ETF, so I decided to buy some. There are a few other names that I would like to buy up as well. I'm just kind of waiting. CRISPR is just one of those where my convictions are so high, my background's in it. When I took biotechnology in college, it might as well have just been called CRISPR class, because that's basically what we discussed and learned about. So I have a disproportionate weighting in this stock as opposed to these other names. I sold off some of the shop today, so this just a minor bit. So this should actually probably be below these two biotech names at this point. Actually, maybe even below Docs. And let's talk about Docs. Doximity is a Medicare stock. I shouldn't say Medicare. It's a healthcare stock. That's a social media company that helps to interconnect physicians and doctors. And they've continued to beat earnings over and over and over. Unlike someone like TDoc, which is disappointing like continuously. So I think Doximity is one of those companies that's kind of blindsiding a lot of the bigger players like TDoc. And due to the growth numbers we've seen from this company and the positive reviews and the sentiment there, I've been a big fan of them for a minute, actually. So like that company a lot. We already talked about Airbnb, but let me, for the sake of the clip, save the clip. Airbnb, I expect rental prices to be persistently high, with inflation high, and with the fundamentals of this company and the way the management team is, even heading into a recession. I really like this company, and I like having some sort of exposure to housing or retail in my long-term account. And this allows me to do that. This also is a company that is supporting the individual, giving people extra access to income. And I think that it's just a great allocation to have within the account. Now, there are some concerns here and concerns in the market about Airbnb, but just due to how I've seen this management team, look, you have to think, okay, just anecdotally, literally heading into COVID, this management team cut their own salaries to help support the company, by 50% or more. They all got together and decided on doing that. Extremely impressive. They saw that there was going to be rough times in the market. They reacted appropriately, and they started pulling back parts of the business. They were set up to survive. All right. If the economy continues to get rough, if we head into a recession, if I want to have money still in the market and be able to have faith in the company, and like the sector, like this is the company to put that faith in my perspective. I'm not saying it's risk free, but I think Airbnb is also one of these companies that could easily, quadruple its evaluation within a few years, within 5-10 years. And within 10 years, this might be $1 trillion company, to be honest, especially with the way that housing is exploding. Now, if this becomes a complete, rent culture where no one buys anything in 10 years from now because corporations bought out all the houses, or a majority of them, I think they will still utilize Airbnb, or at least some individuals will. So I think that's the risk there, though. That should be considered. So, holy cow, my allergies are driving me nuts today. Anyways, talked about CRISPR, talked about Invex. Invex, about the same as CRISPR for fundamentals. Shopify, I like Shopify. Shopify's got murdered by this market. But I am still, anecdotally, again, seeing lots of people utilize the Shopify's network. And there's a huge pitch that a lot of these companies in a recession will capitulate. They'll go under bankruptcy because of a recession and because a lot of these companies were benefiting from cheap money and being able to take out infinite loans to survive, but weren't making profits. And so this market right now wants to heavily punish anyone who's not making profits and who can't afford the expensive money or the fact that they can't get loans at all. And so this has been really negative for Shopify. Their stock has gotten obliterated. And actually, we'll pull that up right over here. Badly obliterated. And that's not even a good picture. Let's just go to the 3-year. Yeah. So from 1,700 to 381. But I still like this company. And I actually think this is one of those brilliant trades that you can make where I think this could go back to 1,000 easily over a 5-year time frame. So I like holding this company right now. Right now, it's a little bit of a short-term trade. My purchasing timing was related to a stock split that's coming up, and then probably in July, probably in August, do a reevaluation of the position and then pile back into it some. Because I like the company, and anecdotally for that one, we just had Mark Rober, who's a superstar on YouTube, just launched his new business on there for kids' toys to help kids get back into engineering. And that's just one example of new businesses that are still seeing built by, big name people who are still advertising for the company. I don't even think they sponsor him. I just think he was advocating for how much he liked that company. And I just think that stuff like that, where you're empowering the individuals, a lot like Airbnb is, to have more flexibility in their life, generate new forms of income. This just all-star fundamentals, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't get much better than that, where as your customers succeed, you succeed. So you succeed just by benefiting their lives. That's kind of like what I want I want our merits to be. So, continuing. Talking about Doximity, Google. Google is just Google. And actually a big portion of this Google position. So actually we shared a video in the Discord that was featured on the All In podcast. This is a little bit derailing, but it'll come back around. And it was by the founder of Oculus. And he is now, when he got fired from Oculus, Facebook fired him. And he started a defense company, and he was kind of talking about some of the finer details that relate to the defense industry and some of the issues that exist there. And so one of the big attacks there, and I think what has trended since, is that Google is a little bit awful because they aren't helping with anything in the defense industry. Because in their opinion, being on the defensive means being on the offensive and supporting the killing of people. But one of the things that I think was really enlightening from that speech, and the reason I want to mention it because I think it was very awakening, was that if one side thinks that they can beat the other side, then the war occurs. But if there's a huge difference in technological advancements between both sides, then no conflict usually occurs whatsoever. And so when you actually do invest in defense, rather than having this mindset of you're investing in killing people, you're actually preventing the killing. And so you're seeing companies like Google now say, oh, we'll invest in defense because of what happened in Ukraine. But that actually only ensures that you only invest when it actually is the death of people. If you preemptively invest, you're actually investing in the idea that you can prevent war by just saying, hey, look, you obviously can't mess with us. But when you actually just invest after it occurs, you are only making sure that you invest in the actual deaths of people. And that was a really enlightening way to put that I hadn't considered before, because it's very virtue signaling, and it's very touchy feely, and sounds good to say, hell, I don't invest in war, but the reality is that is what prevents wars. So, arming everyone with nukes prevented us from nuking each other because we knew everyone else had the capability. And so the dual threat caused stagnation and then led to diplomacy, because you don't want to take a fight you're not sure if you can win. And you only want to take the fights when you think you can win, which was why Russia actually invaded Ukraine, because they thought they could win. So, wrapping back around to Google. I think that now that Google has switched on some fundamental things like that, and I think that they're starting to see the other side of the coin, and now they're getting pressured to kind of do the right thing. And then you have also other features of the company like YouTube, which I think is the number one streaming platform and will, in short time, probably over the next 5 years, start to decimate the other streaming companies. Which they already are. They're already the largest. And I just think that the culture will start to finally realize that Netflix and HBO and, True TV and Paramount, Disney, Apple, Amazon's, they're going to get they're gonna never ever be able to compete with YouTube. And why? Because it aligns with one of my most basal fundamentals that I love, which is empowering the individual. Anyone can get on YouTube and they can start creating content like I am right now. Anyone can get on YouTube and create a show and succeed. And the algorithm is set up in such a way that if you're just consistent, if you create good content, if you are doing the right thing or being helpful, like, you can succeed. And I think that, things like removing the dislike button are asininely stupid. But I think that over time, hopefully, we see a big push to put those things back. And I think we're starting to see a nice cultural shift in Google that I hope continues. And so I'm holding a position there. And that is largely around YouTube, and I hope that this company starts moving in some correct directions. MindMed is actually a pharmaceutical play for me. MindMed is the number one researcher for psychedelics in the world, and their main goal is to get clinical FDA approval on clinical usage of psychedelics. And the research here is a lot of the research that I came across in college, doing Alzheimer's research, which then led me to nootropics, which then led me to these psychedelic studies, which were absolutely profound. And this is a penny stock. This is the only penny stock I own. This is a penny stock that I've owned for many, 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 many years. Actually, this is my longest holding. Because I've been in and out of CRISPR. Otherwise, those would be tied. But and its performance has been meh, but it's one that I have high convictions in. This is completely destabilizing to your the depressants in a huge way, or SRIs, which have horrible negative side effects on people and were never intended for long-term usage. But yet you have people taking these drugs that were never intended for long-term usage, for 30 plus years. Psychedelics, we've seen tons and tons and tons and tons of positive research in this sector when it comes to patients near death, when it comes to patients struggling with depression or PTSD. They've also done some studies with other disorders like OCD or ADHD and seen some positive results there. But I mean, people are scared of the word psychedelic. I think this will change over time. And I'm young and willing to hold out for that time, for that change. Like we've seen many, many times before. People get stuck in ruts. They get stuck in stupid ideas. And I mean, the people that are against this industry are just idiotic. When you look at the research, it's so overwhelmingly positive. It's insane. The fact that it can't get more widespread attention is asinine. Like I've already said, I'm getting a little repetitive. So I'm a big fan of that. Because it solves a huge issue, which is there are depressed people. Mental illness is on the rise, but the medicines that we apply are awful, horrendous, the worst you can possibly give to people. And these illegal drugs have the best results, like better results, and no negative side effects. And so to anyone who's actually scientific or thinking with a critical mind, or just open-minded in general, this is just so stupid obvious that this is the solution, or that it at least needs to have some closer study. I mean, the study's so close and so thorough. I mean, we're talking about 40 plus years of research in some cases. By big companies, by like Johnson and Johnson. All right, this isn't like people in their basements. This is legit research by legit researchers who have been studying this for many decades. So longer than some of these SRIs that were studied. So yeah, and the fact that humanity has been doing psychedelics since the beginning of time. So every culture that's ever existed and the entire world has found a way to trip balls. It just is what it is. Not every culture at the beginning of time has found a way to, create a synthetic opioid that causes a high levels of addiction. The levels of addiction in psychedelics is next to zero chemically across the board. So there's that. Coinbase. I added some Coinbase. And at the beginning of the stream, Austin was sharing some negative things on Coinbase. But I think while the market's down and while the controversies are rampant, this is the time I want to buy. And I'm looking to start buying up some crypto as well. And I'm getting pretty excited about it because people are getting really negative. They're worried if it will survive. The sentiment's starting to turn a little bit. People are not wanting to buy, and I'm getting excited because when the average consumer is depressed about his crypto and doesn't even want to look at it, like that's when I'm going to be most excited about this and want to buy up as much as I possibly can because I still think that crypto is the future. I think Coinbase is one of the staple names that has managed to manage themselves adequately through a very volatile and rough time period, and we've seen a lot of these exchanges completely blow up, have to close off trading, and so I just think that this is a name that's going to be trusted. Even if people don't hold their money with Coinbase, if this is who they choose to transact with, or if Coinbase can develop better wallets, and there's lots of projects that they're working on, and just right now that is the time to buy in my long-term account, with just some cash. I'd like to hold this company. Maybe when I think the lows have come into crypto, I actually sell this position entirely and take all that money and put it into actual cryptocurrencies. That's also pretty likely. KRNT, I think Autodesk will be another one I add because this is my adding time over the next few months, and so maybe this position will get split. But these are both small; they were just added 2 days ago. But KRNT is a printer company, a digital printer company. They make clothes. They are the champion in their sector to a large extent. They can work with all sorts of different fabrics. They are, keep up with all the ESG guidelines. In fact, they destroy those compared to other companies. You could print in all sorts of vibrant colors. They are highly effective. The business model is very profitable. They've been participating in all these different fashion shows and stuff. I think they're a little too political and should just be more about fashion, but fashion kind of inherently plays into those anyways. So I've been okay with the kind of a more political company when usually I dislike that strongly because fashion's always, we know which way fashion leads. And so I've been completely okay with that because the technology is great. And I'm looking for this company to start branching out in their partnerships. I don't know why, maybe Lululemon not because of the patent on their fabrics. I don't know, and I wasn't able to discover if that fits within the type of fabrics that Cornet Digital could utilize. But, American Eagle or Gap or Kohl's or any of these companies are looking to save money on their margins and switch to this digital printing and maybe make domestic production for extremely cheap. This is the way to do it. And this is the leader by a lot. So that's why I also have Cornet Digital. And I've been a big fan of them for a minute. They have a great YouTube where you can kind of see the different products they've been creating. And I expect big partnerships to come this company's way just because of the massive lead they have right now. Now, I think that And I think the global issues will also be a huge catalyst for them moving forward as people look for ways to create domestic production and to import less things. And this company being based, not in China or somewhere, I think is a huge advantage that they also have. So that's the long-term breakdown that we wanted to get out. That got interrupted multiple times. And we'll end up clipping this out later and putting it in the stream. Not on the stream, on the YouTube.